and proposal writing, organized by the Department of Artificial Intelligence and Machine Learning in Animal Engineering College. I extend my heartfelt welcome to our and the faculty members from the various institutions who have joined with us. And now let me welcome Ashiba from the Department of AML to deliver the welcome speech.
Good evening to one and all present here. On behalf of the Department of Artificial Intelligence and Machine Learning, Panimala Engineering College, it gives me immense pleasure to warmly welcome you all to day 4 of our national level 5-day online faculty development program on building expertise in research paper and proposal writing. Before we begin today's session, I would like to extend our heartfelt gratitude to the management of Panimala Engineering College for their unwavering support, encouragement, and continuous guidance in organizing academic programs of such value and excellence. We also thank our respected conveners, coordinators, faculty members, and organizing team whose dedication has made the past 3 days of this FDP exceptionally successful. We also place on record of our sincere gratitude to our esteemed resource persons for day 1, day 2, and day 3. Dr. Doreen Robin for setting a strong foundation through her insightful session on systematic research article writing. Dr. R. Nitya for enriching us with practical approaches on AI tools for research paper writing, and Mr. R. Rajan for delivering a highly informative session on journal selection, publication ethics, and the submission process. Their contributions have added immense depth and momentum to this FTP and have greatly befitted all participants. It is my privilege to introduce and welcome our distinguished speaker for day 4, Dr. Winningston K., professor in the Department of Computer Science and Engineering at the National Institute of Technology, Srinagar. Dr. Winningston earned his PhD in Computer Science and Engineering from Anna University, Chennai in 2015. His expertise spans across compression of computer vision and natural language processing systems for edge intelligence, an area of increasing global importance as we move towards lightweight, scalable, and real-time AI applications. His current research includes developing efficient CV applications for health and environmental monitoring, as well as NLP applications for healthcare and legal domains. He is also a proud recipient of the prestigious Inspire Fellowship, award Department of Science and Technology, Government of India, and a testament to his academic excellence and research potential. Dr. Winningston has delivered numerous technical talks across India and has published over 20 plus research papers in reputed journals and conferences. His ongoing research project also contributes meaningfully to the Swachh Bharat mission, aligning scientific innovation with national development. He's also the most renowned person. We also truly honored to have him with us today. His expertise in emerging AI frontiers will undoubtedly provide deep insights, especially for researchers, faculty members, and students seeking to enhance their understanding on edge technologies and its role in real world applications. Sir, we are delighted and grateful that you accepted our invitation. We look forward to your enriching and intellectually stimulating sessions. Now I pass on the session to Prabha ma'am to officially welcome our speaker.
Thank you, Ashiba. It's our pleasure to Computer Science and Engineering, National Institute of Technology, Srinagar. We welcome you, sir. Let me hand over the session to Wenningster. Sir, please go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you for the warm welcome this evening, and very good evening to one and all present here on the meeting link. Let's get started. The theme of this talk is going to be the various funding opportunities we have around. We have around the possible research proposal submission, as well as we will also be exposed to uh, certain good practices in writing research proposals. So I believe as most of the participants are faculty, so we are all engineers, and we are going to learn, an art of writing research proposal. So basically, writing research papers and writing research proposals, basically it's considered an art, than an engineering. But anyhow, even though the intention behind research proposal is to address an engineering problem, but making it as a proposal, a report to be submitted to a funding agency for fetching possible funding. We really require an art of writing and all that. Anyhow, let us get into the scope of the session. So let us understand so what Indian research funding ecosystem is all about. And then we will also be seeing certain good practices to finally end up getting a well formulated research proposal that could probably gain attention from the reviewers, and then get some positive remarks, and then possibly pass through the process, and then and then finally gets accepted. Right. At the same time, we can't be prejudiced about our research proposal, but anyhow, we will do it with our utmost commitment. But still, anyhow, the outcome depends on various other factors. We would be looking into that as well. Yes, and then we would be, as I mentioned before, yes, we would be looking at some good practices to structure or formulate competitive research proposal. And then recent days we hear these terms very often, SDGs, and then PRL, and then POC in proposals. So when we emphasize these aspects in our proposal, probably it would add value to our proposal. Right, as we all know, research grant matters a lot, especially for academicians and researchers. There are various components involved in research. So we can procure equipment for research lab. We can enrich our R&D experience. We can develop laboratories, and then we can hire manpower to work on specific research problem in terms of JRF, SRF, and all that. And moreover, it adds value to our career as well. So it adds points to our performance indicators, and then it even helps institute holistically, so as to get good perception from the community around, so that they get benefit in terms of accreditation, ranking, and so on. Mm. And moreover, yes, research grants, something what we do at institution. I consider most of the participants as teachers, working professionals in engineering or arts and science colleges. So mostly as part of a regular academics, so will not be able to see our thought process in practice. In case we imagine someday and we want to probably uh, give structure to it, and we want to have some hands-on, or we want to develop and then test it in real-time setting. Probably we need funds. So without funds, we'll not be able to procure some special equipment. We'll not be able to really put something in practice. So research grants basically facilitate us to involve in interdisciplinary translational projects that adds value basically, right? So most of our study will be around our country's priorities, right? So you often hear these terms now and then, because these are the current priorities that the government of India has set. They are moving towards Atmanirbhar Bharat, Viksit Bharat 2047, and so on. There are many other missions. So these are all some common missions that applies across the country. While there are some specific missions like for example, the space mission that is centered around space exploration and then research around space science. Similarly, there are many, again, healthcare ministry has its own mission, and then science and technology has its own mission, and then every other education domain has its own mission, and so on and so forth. Okay, so ministry specific missions, some of them are listed here. Right? And the reason why we are always thinking about writing research proposals in the Indian context, because majority of research funds are provided by the government, either from the central government or from the state government, the respective state governments. We hardly see industry-oriented funds, maybe not as frequent as the government of India or any other state government in our country is extending. Right. So let's start with certain challenges we have in proposal writing. Right. So every proposal, every call for proposal will come out with a specific scope and objective, and your proposal or your project idea, whatever you're proposing, should be aligned with what is the intention behind the call for proposal. Okay? So basically, your proposal idea or your project idea should meet the objective or the scope of the call for. So that is a very preliminary requirement while submitting a research proposal under a specific call. Then once the scope matches, once your proposal matches with the scope, then we are good to proceed. And then we have to even ensure that adequate novelty is mentioned in your report. Okay? Novelty, not in terms of research and development, at least the way, not about the methodology that you're proposing as part of your research. At least it should be the problem itself should be a kind of novel. So there is a special call from ICMR which I have just observed while preparing for this talk, and it was quite special, right? So it should be like first of its kind. So if any proposal which is first of its kind will be encouraged, and that is the scope. They did not really specify. Anyhow, it is from ICMR, so it must be specific to medical research. Medical should be around medical oriented research, but still anything which is first of its kind will be recognized, and that is the scheme of the call for. Interesting, right? And then, yes, we need to even properly balance the team of investigators that will be leading the project, and then the manpower requirement, and then the available time. Available time mostly mentioned as part of project call. Yeah? No, which means we won't probably have flexibility in deciding our own no time limit for executing the project. That generally comes along with the project call for. But anyhow, we should be able to justify and whatever proposal that we submit. And if the call for project is for a duration of 2 years, then the idea or the proposal that we're submitting should also meet the required timeline, so that there should be a proper balance in these metrics. And then budget is more important, and budget should again be we must be very much particular about that. So these are major central and state funding bodies that we see in India. As we all know, yes, we have this Anusandhan National Research Framework, and that was earlier served the Science Engineering Research Board earlier, and now in the name of ANRF, and many schemes are being announced. And these are some of the renowned schemes that gets open up at least once or twice in a year. And then we have Department of Science and Technology, which basically encourages the collaborative funding. And so, which means the international funding, which is going to be a kind of joint, research initiative from India, and then joining hands with scientists from Germany, scientists from Australia, scientists from Japan, scientists from US, Canada, and so on. Okay? So now and then we would see frequent calls coming up from DST that basically promotes collaborative funding opportunities. But again, these are all country specific because country is moving with a specific aim and goal, and all these research proposals are also comes with a certain scope, and our solution should also somehow either directly or indirectly should address or meet the country's national priority. So that is important in all the proposals. So that is something that we see in common across all these schemes and agencies. And then we do often see call for proposals coming up from DRDO, ISRO, and then the Department of Atomic Energy, and then Ministry of Electronics, IT, and then Ministry of Mines, Ministry of Earth Sciences, and then Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, and then this is something called climate change efforts and all, environment, right? Something related to environment. The last one, MOEFWC. There are many schemes, but they don't basically release call for every year. But yes, of course, we see call for coming up from these ministries as well now and then. Okay. And ISRO, when it comes to ISRO, so ISRO releases list of research problems in the name of response basket every year in the month of Jan, February. Probably a call for has not yet opened, and you can probably expect a call for coming from ISRO and the response basket, which would normally open, considering past 2 years. The scheme generally opens in the month of January, and the deadline will be somewhere in mid of February. And there are a lot of focused areas. Sometimes there are hundreds of focused areas, and you can choose whichever area that aligns with your expertise, with your past work. Then you can appropriately choose and then submit your proposal. And then we do have other disciplines like the Department of Biotechnology, ICMR, ICSSR. And, at last, we would be looking at few currently active open call for proposals. And there is one scheme which is open from ICSSR, Indian Council for Social Sciences Research, which the call for has opened, I think, in the last month, and it is open till 15th of December. And we'll take a look at it. And besides that, there are some higher education bodies like UGC, AICT. Very rarely we see funding opportunities coming up from UGC, especially for research projects. There could be other fundings like kind of fellowships or travel grants from UGC. Again, from AICT, again, institute-specific funding call for or generally being released by AICT, like lab modernization, and then purchasing certain equipments for institute so as to promote better teaching learning. That's that sort of thing. Not so specific individual centric research proposals. It is mostly institute wide. Basically, the AICT wanted to enrich the institute infrastructure so that it would widely affect the student community. That is their scope behind issuing call for proposals, okay, but not individual centric research proposals often coming from higher education bodies. And then besides all this, what government has taken in the recent days, there are a lot of I-hubs established by various institutions of high repute in India. Okay, I have listed some of them here. They again open up frequent call now and then. Yes, there is a way we can get frequent update from a portal that is called Mandan. I'll share the link probably later in my presentation. So from where you can get the call for proposals which are coming up from various funding agencies within India mostly. But some of call for even uh, includes industry oriented call for proposals, research proposals. Right. So this technology, innovation hub (TAH) we call, then technology innovation framework we call. Some institutions call it differently, but all of them are basically same. Some of them works with a very specific mission. For example, some of the I hubs may be focused on water resources. Some of them may be focusing on healthcare, some of them may be focusing on agriculture and so on. Because these are some of the top no priority areas that our government of India has identified: agriculture, energy, food, healthcare, and then defense. These are some of the priority areas as we know. But there are some I hubs which are very much specialized in finance and banking as well. Okay. Then there is an iHub established at Triple IT Hyderabad called iHub Data, which is very much focused on healthcare, data-centric research. And then we have the 3C iHub established by IIT Kanpur. But it is established and monitored, managed by IITs, IITs or Triple ITs. But funding, basically, the source of funding is basically from central government through DST. But instead of DST, being the agent and then distributing funds to the individuals and then institutions for promoting research, so they have basically extended a bulk sum amount to these institutions to set up these iHubs at their institute, and then they can identify specific, locality related social problems, and then they often open up call for proposals, and then they invite proposals, and then they used to form their own evaluation committee, and then they shortlist based on the validity of the proposal. Okay, so that is what the scope. Okay, so that government doesn't want to basically contain everything into a single agency. They basically wanted to have distributed agencies so that the often research call for research proposals are being published, and then they basically encourage kind of research oriented practice happening at every teaching and teaching and industry teaching institutions and industry labs and all that. And under most of these call for issued by most of these agencies, and teaching faculty, a regular teaching faculty with PhD will generally be considered eligible. And then some schemes are even open for NGOs, and some schemes are even open for any individuals who are not associated with any organization. And there are some call for which are open for the collaboration between academicians and industry partners. And then besides that, we have this the BIS, a standards organization in India, and they even often support. They even recent days they started even promoting R&D projects, and then they issue specific call for proposals now and then. I think last month there was a deadline for submitting BAS research and development projects. And now I don't think the call is open yet, but they are very frequently releasing call for proposals. At least I see for proposals coming up from BIS, twice a year. That is the frequency they are maintaining, but they have vision for promoting more R&D projects, inviting more solutions through R&D. So they extend their funding support to various institutions and academic institutions and research labs. Besides that, every state government comes up with their own specific research grants. Even under Tamil Nadu government of Tamil Nadu, I see a couple of schemes which are not active now, but there are people who have fetched funds from state government of state government of Tamil Nadu, and then they are even promoting in some ways. Similarly, every other state government again extends support for research and development projects. Right. So besides project-specific funds, there are funds which are specific for innovation, which means any open innovation. So the call for generally it does not focus specifically on a scope focused area. without focus on a specific area. So any open innovation, can be sometimes submitted as a research proposal for possible funding. Okay? And then if we have idea on establishing a startup, again, there are schemes by these agencies which encourages such initiatives. Okay? And again, one thing which I forgot to add here, MSME is actively participating, basically promoting academicians and researchers in establishing startups. So they have relaxed. If you are an academician, so it would be easy for you to set up a startup. So you can easily get seed grants uh, from any of these funding agencies. But MSME will facilitate it as in no registering it as a startup company. As long as we are not a commercial agent, if you are an academician, and so they have relaxed certain norms, for us to very easily enroll our concern as a startup company, right? The only thing is you will have to identify an incubation center. There are many educational institutions which acts as incubators, so that it will not be a big thing for us to identify an incubator so as to set up a starting initiative. And there are certain research grants which are specific for this as well. Right, let's get into certain good practices in writing proposal. Uh, 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 for example, let us first of all, read the call for, and then we have to understand the scope of the call for. So, scope of the call for is very important, and we should always align our proposal towards the scope of the call for. So, when there is no match, then that would be the screening step that funding agencies mostly do, so as to filter out projects even before sending it for review. So there is a high chance that no proposal will be no desk rejected in case in case our proposal does not meet the scope of the call for. So we should be very much particular about aligning our project idea with the call for proposal. And then these are the certain areas that could be highlighted in our proposal with the construction of a novel data set could be a great addition to the proposal, and then enrichment of lab facilities. Generally, whenever we specify that we want to we want to equip the laboratory, and we are advised generally not to include basic equipments like computers or computers or printers, and then other like no, like network switches, hubs, and all that. Okay, these are very basic elements, basic equipments that are expected to be available in any organization. So generally, we should avoid adding all such very fundamental equipments as part of a project in order to in order to probably enhance our existing lab facilities. Okay, so we should be very much specialized in mentioning the lab equipment that we are seeking through a project. And then collaborators are again another important thing. So always it is presumed that an industry partner will always add value to our project. Okay. Sometimes some call for mandate that when industry partners join hands with a project proposal, industry partner is expected to contribute at least 10 to 15% of the total project cost. Okay, there are certain calls which even mandate this, at least 10 to 15% contribution from industry partner. As I mentioned before, some of the research proposals, call for research proposals, which are originating from MSME, that basically mandates this. Most of the calls which are coming from MSME demand for 10 to 15% contribution from industry. Okay? And some research proposals do not require any contribution from the industry player, but their participation is always welcome and add value to our project proposal. And then another core strength of a proposal would be the prior publications. And this is going to be probably the primary criteria for desk rejection. So when we propose something, it's not just about our own imagination or our creativity. We come up with some project idea which we believe that we'll be able to accomplish, provided funding is extended to us. Okay, so yes, it is not a myth, and it is a true fact that given adequate fund, anything can be accomplished. So fund is going to be a major criteria for execution. So if we have sufficient funds, and we'll be able to execute anything, because nowadays learning is not so considered difficult, and anything can be learned. We can very quickly learn a completely a new field, from scratch, and then we can straight away venture into some R&D project in it, and then we can certainly excel when we have adequate funding access. So that is important. But still, maybe due to the number of proposals that these funding agencies are receiving, they basically look into the profile of the principal investigator. Okay, PIs and co-PIs, KPIs profiles are basically inspected in order to rule out the project. So when we have no prior experience in that aligned domain, probably our chances of our proposal is moving towards the review process is less. Okay? So that is one another thing. So always try to align your project with your past work, so that it will give an assumption that you have you have working experience with this particular domain of expertise, and then it would probably give a good perception from the reviewing or the evaluation team. And it is very difficult to even find out the reason for rejection. So when your project is not basically a rejection, generally it is either recommended or not recommended. When your proposal is not recommended, then generally they don't quote any reason for it. You will not basically get any technical remark on your proposal, because they will evaluate your proposal technically. However, reviewing team will not pinpoint the technical mistakes or no technical labs in your project proposal. They basically say a very common, common reason for not recommending is basically the inadequacy of funds, or the number of proposals received or enormous. And these are some of the reasons that we often hear from the agency. Okay, whenever a project goes off the track. Right. And then, yes, of course, we need to even pinpoint the scale of work. Let's say there is a call for proposal, which is ready to offer us the maximum fund of 15 lakhs. So then we should plan our work only for the destined budget, right? So we can't have an open-ended. We cannot basically submit a research proposal with an open-ended research problem, which requires probably more than 15 lakhs or more than 20 lakhs. So we should limit our project according to the specifications mentioned in the call for proposal. Okay. Yeah. Sometimes there are schemes which encourages multi-institutional participation. There is a scheme by ANRF called PAIR. This is a scheme which encourages multi-institution participation while submitting research proposal. So even few of our faculty members are part of one such project. So which was initiated by IIT Kanpur, and then there are many IITs. I think more than I think 7 to 8 institutions are part of that project, and then more than 45 PIs are part of it, and then they are moving forward. These are some of the preliminary things that we need to do so as to match your project idea with the specifications mentioned in the call for proposal. Okay? In case you find that, especially when it comes to ICMR proposals, Indian Council for Medical Research, mostly, if you look at the projects selected in the past, you can find them. You can find the list of projects approved by ICMR in the past call for. They generally used to publish it on their website. Almost 95 to 98 proposals are submitted by doctors. Very few academicians basically receive projects from ICMR. So we again, these are certain things that we need to basically consider, where the chances of getting your proposal being accepted is actually very very less. At the same time, this is not the only criteria to discard the call. You should the participation is important. Yeah. So participation is always important, even if there is no chance or less chance, and participation is very important. Okay, and sometimes ICMR even encourages the people who are working on core science disciplines like physics, chemistry, biology, and so on. Right. So this is here is the general proposal structure. So you will have to propose a title for it, and then keywords, then abstract, which which describes the technical background of your proposal uh, briefly, and then some call for proposal demand for detailed, nationwide or international wide literature survey in order to figure out the research gap that is being fulfilled, that is going to be filled, through your R&D efforts under this call. And then you will have to clearly mention the measurable list of 3 to 4 objectives. So when I say measurable objectives, whatsoever objectives that you claim here, it should be numerically validated. So each objective that you mention as part of your research proposal must be validated either through objective or subjective metric. You should be able to validate it. Okay, it shouldn't be like a hypothesis, because hypothesis is something that you can consider as part of your R&D initiative, but generally funding agencies do not encourage hypothesis proposals. Okay, because what could happen under certain conditions criteria, the hypothesis may fail, and that is something that is not basically encouraged as encouraged by most of the funding agencies. And every objective that you claim must be positively coming out as an outcome. So that is something the minimum need from the funding agencies. And then, yes, of course, methodology, and then the work plan must be structured accordingly. These are some of the common content that you find in almost all research proposals. And then we should express the outcomes and then the deliverables, because sometimes there is a misconception between outcomes and deliverables. And outcomes could be uh, anything which an outcome of a project could be a publication. Outcome of a project could be a patent, and then outcome of a project could be you could probably produce a PhD through your research project. That could be considered an outcome. PG students who are working on their project on your project could be considered an outcome. But when it comes to even all the numeric results that you come up with, at the end of the execution of your project, that's all called outcomes. And deliverables in the sense, if you could come up with a tangible product as part of your project. Okay, can you make part of your system to be accessible for community? Can you, if you could model something as a kind of product out of your project, and they are basically called deliverables. Okay? Deliverables are sometimes optional, but it is important to highlight what could be the deliverables of your project. Okay, probably when you involve yourself into some R&D projects on data analytics, and you can consider finally posting your project outcome as a kind of cloud-based system for community use. Okay, for example, you are contributing something for agriculture, and you can probably develop an expert system out of it, and then you can make a version of expert system available for public use. Okay, so that is something that you can experience as deliverables as part of your output. And then budget is important. And again, most of the call for comes with a specific budget heads. There will be a budget for not for team. Principal investigators have can get nothing out of project other than they get flexibility to execute the project. They get the responsibility to execute the project, but no such part of funding will be allotted to the team that is leading the project. But we have cost for manpower. We can hire manpower for for the execution of our project. And then there could be some institutional supports, whatever equipment that we purchase through project that basically belongs to the host institute where the one who fetched funding is working. It becomes an institutional property. Sometimes it becomes a part of an institutional property. Sometimes it's going to be a set of the funder itself. Again, it depends on the call, and you can read the guidelines that you can understand how is going to be the ownership decided for the equipment you purchase through project. Okay. So, and then all necessary ethical practices. Ethical practices comes in whenever we deal with sensitive areas like defense and then healthcare. Right? These are the domains which generally expects ethical considerations, and then risk plan. So what if something that you propose fails? Okay, so you are proposing something to implement, but what could fail in it? So that is something called risk plan, and some proposals are even including this risk plan. And then what if your technical module gets failed, and what if your hardware fails? You procure some hardware as part of this project, and what if it fails? And again, you will have to provide an alternative ways to mitigate the effect of this risk. So these are major proposal content. Yes, again, while naming a proposal, yes, there is a good practice, and we need to emphasize on a method and then the application area and then how it is relevant to the focused area of our country. So that is again another, as I mentioned before, most of the funding agencies are owned by government. So it is good that we always orient our project idea towards meeting the national mission of the country, so that the title will be catchy, and then it would gain attention from the reviewers. Yeah, and then while writing an abstract of the project proposal, and make sure that it maintains everything in a precise manner. What makes you derive this objective? Because gaps basically derives you to make objectives out of objectives. Clearly set the context and then identify prevailing gaps. Then try to fill it through your objectives, and then how would you meet your objectives through methods, and then once you implement such methods, and what would be the expected outcomes, and then what sort of impact it would create in our country's context. Okay. What is the area that would get impacted due to your outcome of the project. So you can consolidate all of them together as part of your abstract, so that it would be end to end. Okay? Because having read abstract should give a reviewer a feel that a complete 20 to 30 page of proposal is read. Okay? That sort of impact should come from your abstract itself.
Okay. Good. Thank you for listening.
Right, let's go ahead. I think probably I can skip certain slides, and then I can try to address some important points. There are some good practices which are self-explanatory as part of this slide, which I don't want to go through for now. Mm, Yeah. So when it comes to budget, so budget formulation is very important. Um, right? Adequate manpower can be mentioned. It is always a good practice to mention manpower. Okay. It is not always expected from the funding agency that the project must be executed by the principal investigator. Principal investigator can seek manpower support through the project. Okay. And again, under manpower, we can seek support in terms of JRF, Junior Research Fellow, or Senior Research Fellow, or Research Associate, or Junior Research Associate. Okay? For each of these research staff designation, and there is a prefixed, there is a fixed stipend approved by the government. Along with the applicable HRA. So again, HRA, as we all know, it differs from place to place because all the places in India are basically classified, classified into three classes. So class A, class B, class C. Now all the metropolitan cities and then all the major cities would come under class A, and then all the intermediate cities are going to come under class B, and then rest of the cities will come under class C. And accordingly, the applicable HSA would also be applicable to the manpower. And then
ஆமா இந்த
right. And then when it comes to equipment, as I had mentioned before, the standard equipments must not be basically quoted as part of your project proposal. An equipment must be something which is unique and then much needed for the idea you propose as part of your proposal. Yeah, and especially when it comes to equipment, yes, we need not the way how we procure equipment is again a challenge for certain items. Especially, for example, you are submitting a proposal that requires purchase of drones. Okay? But some standard drones are basically banned in India, so which you cannot purchase under any project. And there comes a challenge. So again, we have something called as GEM portal, owned by Government of India. Most of the purchases are being done through GEM. Even some state governments even mandate that the purchase must be done under GEMs. So before probably quoting the list of equipments into your project, and you can probably go through this GEM portal. In case you are definitely your institution will be purchasing certain equipments for their routine operations, and they would definitely have this portal access, and then through that you can check the availability of equipments, and then you can add them. Okay, because especially if equipment are to be imported from other countries, then again we need to comply with the norms and standards. Okay? And then yes, of course, consumable. It's better to keep it as minimum as possible. And then again, travel. Yes, of course, we can keep it as minimum as possible. And then contingency is something that could arise unexpectedly. Okay, so again, we are expected to keep this contingency, with a reasonable cost. So not more than probably 5% of the total cost of the project. Even consumable need not be more than 5%. Probably equipment would take some around 40+% of the overall cost of the project. Then travel again, you can keep it between 10 to 15%. Okay? So this could be the typical share across all the budget heads you have. Again, overhead, yes, it would be around 10 to 5 to 10%. So the remaining leftover thing could be devoted to manpower. It could be around 30%, because without manpower, execution of project would be a big challenge. So it is always good to calculate the adequate manpower required for execution of your project, especially if your project requires field work, data collection, annotations, and so on. And you will have to clearly mention and what would be the expertise, what would be the expertise required. I know. Uh, for the successful execution of the project. Okay? Yes. So here we see that the potential outcome, the impact of the proposal. Yes. So the proposals, the successful execution of your project may result in standard publications, and then publication of new data sets, benchmark, so that the research community can work on your data set further, to test the efficiency of several models. And then it could be a tool or kind of library, a readily usable programming library could be presented as outcome from your project, so that the academic community would get benefited. And then could be in terms of patent, and it could be in the form of student and then other stakeholder training. This could be extended as part of your project. And then again, the social impact depends on the theme of the call for. So if the theme is around agriculture, then the farmers, it should bring some change in the farmer's life. Okay, so that is something that must be emphasized in your proposal writing. Okay, and again, when it comes to healthcare, and we must be comfortable with the underlying norms, the privacy concerns, that our government of India is strictly following. But it is unlike Western countries and other countries like US, right? So here we have a very strict, privacy preserving policies in India, and it's very hard to get healthcare data, in the Indian context. So again, in case you get a grant from, let's say, ICMR, and then you will not be able to easily publish, the data set that you prepare as part of your output. So while writing it, you should expose that you are even comfortable with the norms and policies of the domain. So that is important. And it is not that something that you can claim and then you can exercise. In case if your claim goes wrong, and if your claim is not as per the norms, then probably your proposal will be devalued. Because even no, even no, while executing projects with drone, especially we have recently taken a project from Jammu and Kashmir, no, Science and Innovation Council here, funded by Department of Science and Technology, Government of India, but it is through the State Science and Technology Department. And while executing the project, and we had to fly a drone over the water body to collect some samples. But you know the condition of Srinagar, Jammu and Kashmir, right? You will find a lot of police stations around. You will find, because here the civilization is around that water body. The entire city is around the water body, a very big water body called Dal Lake here. And we wanted to fly drone over it so as to collect some samples, especially about the pictures of the floating plastic waste. Now, there are a lot of this armed force battalions are even around. Okay, so we are not allowed to fly drones over it. Okay? And as I mentioned, the water body itself, the ecosystem, or there is a civilization around this water body, and there are floating police stations. There are floating, this the commando forces, and then there is a floating post office, and there are people living on water, in the floating boats. And this is how the community is. And there were a lot of restrictions in implementing it. Basically, we had to get proper approval from the district administration, and again, no, we had to we were imposed a lot of limitations in using drones, and that directly impacted our data collection policy as well. Okay, so this is some of the impact that we need to even analyze. Okay, so it is better that we are comfortable with the local norms where we are going to deploy or where we are going to implement and then test our project outcome. That is again an important factor. Yes, and then directly from here, I'll jump into the other three important aspects which we are predominantly seeing in all the call for mentioned in the recent days. So the three things are the TRL, and then SDGs, and then POCs. Okay. This is something that you would often see in every corporate proposal. You will have to declare that under which technology readiness level that your project generally comes under. Okay. There are I think 1 to 9 levels of TRLs, and 9 is the kind of level where you will have to express outcome of your project in terms of product which is commercializable. Okay, so you develop a product, and then the product should directly reach the market for commercially viable sale, and that is the kind of expectation from TRL 9 level of project. Okay, so TRL probably 1 to 3 would be the very fundamental research which you could just experiment, run some experiments in your lab, and then report some numeric results, and then go for publication, patent, and all that. Okay, so that is something TRL, and then this SDGs. There are 17 global goals which are decided under this UN 2030 agenda, where most of the countries which are part of this United Nations this 2030 agenda have decided to follow these SDG goals, right? So anything that we do, even government do, they used to associate the outcome against any of the SDGs which are decided in this meet. Okay, so that they have identified that the country's development is depending on the 17 global goals. So it is always good to, it is a kind of outcome based education, right, where you map the course outcome against the course outcome against the program outcome and program outcome against some program specific outcome, all these things, right? So basically, that sort of thing is what done at the country's administration side, and then even most of these SDGs are basically backed by the research outcomes. So it is very important that which SDG is basically is focused by your project proposal. If anyhow, SDG would be the focused would be a focused area in the call for proposal itself, and you should convince the funding agency that it would the effect of this project would directly contribute to the certain SDGs which are mentioned as focused areas in the call for proposal. Okay, that is something which is very important these days. So there are some examples here: SDGs 2 and 6 related to smart irrigation, and then SDG 3 and 11 related to air quality, sensor, and so on. So you can read details about SDGs later. Even now, course outcomes are being. I heard. So we rarely go for NBA accreditation. There's some selected departments in our institution goes for NBA accreditation, but in my understanding, the last 5 years, computer science and engineering department has not gone for any accreditation process other than standard ranking frameworks. So I heard that in the recent NBA norms, even course outcomes. No, the program outcomes are even being mapped against SDGs. Okay? So that is the adoption of SDGs. So it is good to reflect the orientedness of SDGs in your proposal will definitely add value to your proposal document. Yes, again, when it comes to technology readiness levels, yes, no, the TRL 1 to 3 talks about the fundamental research and then something called as proof of concept. So you just propose a concept and then you validate that the concept would work at large scale. Okay, you are building probably a tabletop model and then you claim that this tabletop model can be converted to a product and it could be it has the potential to reach the market. Okay, it's the kind of the point of concept or POC is the fundamental research, but the outcome of it is going to be a kind of tangible product. But not readily marketable, but at least the design is validated design so that maybe with a deployed. Okay, for example, you designed a robot that is not fire resistant or water resistant, and it is not required to be tested on, let's say, water body or no in extreme temperature conditions. Okay, something and matured, then probably the item will move to TRL 7 to 9, and then it goes for commercially viable product. Okay. So when a prototype becomes a system prototype, then you will have to look into other constraints, real-time constraints where the system is expected to work with fault tolerance. Okay, all such things must be ensured in case if your project idea falls under TRL 7 to 9. Okay, so again, mapping your project goals against TRL levels is again considered important. While preparing your proposal, similar to SDGs. Again, proof of concept is something that I wanted to particularly address here. It's not that fundamental researchers are not encouraged by any of the research communities. Even fundamental research is still being promoted by the government and then various funding agencies backed by government. But if in that case, if you could formalize your proposal in terms of an experimental POC, then it would add value to it. Which means it's not at the TRL level 1 or 2, but at the level 3, so that you are able to show the outcome of your project in a constrained environment or with a controlled setting. So that at least under certain assumptions you are able to show the working of your project, so that you claim that the project has the provision for extendability, so that it can be scaled in future, so that your solution can even mature and then it can move to other levels in TRL, so that finally it will become a viable commercial product. So that is the prime idea. That is the reason why even most of these funding agencies encourage PI to include industry partners, so that industry partners are the real players in market, and we academicians are not much exposed to the open market, right? We really do not know what is happening in market and all that. But industry players are really working on core ground of marketing, so that their knowledge would help us probably do adequate R&D and then mature our project so that it can be converted to a commercially viable product. And that's the idea. And then there are some example POs here, which are related to our ongoing projects at our laboratory. And this is something, this is the way how we have defined our project idea as a kind of POC. Here are the quick examples. For example, for the use case one mentioned earlier in the slide, so we wanted to basically build a computational crack segmentation model with at least no 10% no IOU gain over baseline models. So this is something that we have just kept, and then if we could at least to show that the proposed model works at least with the 10% gain over standard baseline, then it is the proof of concept. And we just decide and we just work only with this goal. And later, how the model can be taken forward on how we can mature this and then probably deploy it in some edge devices and then use it in real time crack segmentation applications, and that will appropriately determine. Okay, the appropriate TRN level will then be applied to this project, and then we can go further. Okay? The same thing with other use case in the healthcare setting. And here is the final list of a strong profile, a strong proposal, that it must properly fit with the call for proposal and then the scheme objectives. Okay, not all the calls are open calls. They are all very specific calls with a specific goal. So it is important for us to propose objectives, methods, and then other SDG, TRL, POC associations appropriately so as to align our project goal against the call for proposal. That is important. And then again, formalize budget and then team. Even the team matters. No, it's not about forming a like-minded people team. It is about the way how you collaborate, expertise, from different disciplines, so as to have a very strong team. So that the team is very important, as I mentioned before, because your past experiences are going to really play a vital role in improving chances of proposal acceptance. Okay. At the same time, there is no protocol for it. As I mentioned before, it is an art, and there is no protocol. If you just go through all the protocols, all the steps in the protocol, and your proposal will certainly go through. So it's not about it. And even in one of the slides in the previous, one of the slides earlier, I mentioned that, say for example, it is again not a rule that if you are a if you're first time submitting your research proposal, not necessarily you should constrain your budget to 10 lakh or 15 lakh. Because we have a live example here happened this morning that one of our faculty colleague got a project proposal approved for 3.5 crore, and this is his first proposal, and he is a faculty at the assistant professor level, and he could get a project funding of it's an individual centric project from something related to Himalayan mountain studies. It is a very specific call, and he could get a 3.5 crore for to execute for executing this project for next 3 to 5 years. Okay. So there is no such protocol there, and we need not really fit us into a very a budget project with a very budget to constrain the project like 10 lakhs or 50 20 lakhs. Yes, so not necessarily we need to constrain our mind to that angle. And then so the budget must be wisely sketched out because it is good to avoid unnecessary items. Which are which must be available with any institution. Okay? Very basic institutional support items should not be mentioned. And only the project specific items are to be mentioned, and the project specific manpower must be mentioned with adequate expertise. The proper justification must be given for every claim you make. even be it travel expenses, contingency, consumable, adequate justification provide. And then sometimes endorsement from your institution may be important, and you will have to get it appropriately in place, and then you will have to submit it well ahead of time. So that is the way how you can probably avoid last minute rush while submitting your proposal. Okay. So one simple principle that we all can follow, I'm following it, that keep submitting. The more tickets, the better the odds. So when you have more tickets, then you have probably high chance of probably getting through the acceptance of your proposal. There sometimes plays luck matters, but not always, because the reason why I say luck matters. So whenever a call for a proposal opens up, they are sometimes going to be geographic specific. Probably government wanted to encourage every part of the country to be benefited out of this call for research proposal. So they may have probably uh, uh, no, they may have probably distributed certain amounts of money to, let's say, some selected states. Depends on the focused area. Let's say Maharashtra is a state where cotton cultivation is more. When there is a focused research call for proposal focusing on cotton, no cotton production, probably the importance will be given to the region of Maharashtra over other parts of the country. Okay. At the same time, government wanted to always ensure that the proper distribution of money so that all state gets benefited through these kinds of research projects. So that sometimes we get a geographic advantage as well. As I mentioned, right, we received not me. One of my colleagues here from chemistry got a 3.5 crore worth project this morning. I think yesterday from the special mission. It's a special mission on Himalayan studies. So from there, the fund was sanctioned. And probably when we are in down south and then write something about Himalayan mountains, probably the chances of a project proposal being approved is probably less. But this way, we sometimes get geographical advantage as well. But sometimes the gender balance would also be ensured, right? When the scheme decided to offer, let's say, 100 projects, and they may have internal allotment that 50% of projects should benefit male PIs and 50% of projects should benefit female PIs. Okay, this is something. In that case, sometimes you may have less luck that your proposal may not get into this set. Okay? That is wanted to mention here. And again, some projects are specific to communal categories. And these are basically not biased, but this is the way how these funding agencies, government basically ensures the fairness in distributing research grants so that they encourage everyone who are actively ready to contribute their time for R&D projects, and government is actually be able to reach out to all the people. So that is the way how they are just distributing research funds fairly across the country. Okay, when all these meets together in our favor, then certainly a proposal will go through, and then we carry out the research side will know that we propose as part of this the part of a. So these are some of the calls. There are two calls which are currently open with a very narrow closing date on 15th. This ICSSR scheme is going to be closed on 16th. There is a scheme opened by DST. As I mentioned, it's an international collaboratory fund. It could be quite difficult to pursue as in case if any of you are already pursuing with this, if you have already consulted some scientists or some institution faculty in Sweden, and you can probably submit a joint call, and this could probably be supported by both the countries. You will be supported by India, and then the Sweden partner will be supported by Sweden, and then you can have a research problem which is with a common theme of both India and then Sweden. A common research interest between these two countries could be pursued through this kind of research. So now and then you would find US, India, Australia, India, Japan. So these type of calls often come. So India, Ukraine, and India, Russia. No, these are some of the things which are very frequently coming. At least 5 to 6 such calls would open every year, and you can very periodically check DST websites or this EPMS systems of various funding agencies. So when you have logins with these portals, and now and then, when you open up, and you'll be able to see what are those active calls. Besides all that, so create a login with this Mandan portal. So mandan.gov.in, where most of the research call for are going to be hosted here. As and when it is hosted in it, and you will get an alert email that there is a call for proposal on this and so and so theme, and you will get hey, this is the way. Besides your peer groups, and you can also get some updates from this Mandan portal, and I find it really valuable. I get a lot of notes from this portal about a call for research open, a call for research proposals, which are open at any time. And then there are some industry research funds are also available, but very less, and we need to furthermore go through. Mostly, they don't give us financial freedom. They won't basically give us the fund and then to carry out our research work. Basically, they help us extending resources. For example, NVIDIA Academic GPU Grant Program is open throughout the year. And if you have any no machine intensive or sort of data crunching operations which requires powerful GPUs, and you can probably let them know through a very simple proposal, which would not take more than an hour to fill it, because they require very minimum detail about your data intense work, compute intense work, and you can just you can just submit your research proposal to it, and it will be periodically reviewed, and then you will get probably confirmation. I've just submitted one in the last week, still under review. But there is no limit. I think you can submit up to 10 to 15 proposals, I guess. And, as per the dashboard which I have noted, yes, you can submit at least 10 proposals in parallel. So even if you come across any student projects or research scholar problems which requires enormous GPU, and your in-house HPC doesn't allow you to perform intense data compute, you can seek support from NVIDIA. Same way, even Microsoft, Google, and other giant partners in IT domain are also encouraging research community by extending resources support. But these comes with no specific deadline and no specific call for proposal, and there is a form readily available, and you can submit your proposal anytime. And if they consider it is suitable, and they would extend your support, but only the resources mostly, whatever research support that are extended by industry. And so with this, I'll just conclude my talk, and then I extend my best wishes to all the participants to involve in this participation. I think most of you would be doing it. But anyway, whenever your project gets not recommended, and it should not discourage you, and it should rather encourage you to submit more and more proposals, because anyhow, it is going to consume time, but not much. But in case if your proposal matches with the reviewer's opinion, and probably when it gets accepted, especially, you can then spend 2 to 3 years of your time with your own academic and research flexibility in executing the project, yeah, and then witnessing the outcome of it. Yeah. So with this, I'll just hand over the session to the organizers, and if you have any questions for discussion, and then we can take it forward.
Thank you so much, sir, for the wonderful talk about the research project funding and the opportunities. Participants, and to clarify their doubts regarding the proposal funding, please unmute yourself and you can ask.
Hello. Hello.
Yeah, yes, madam. Yeah.
Good evening, sir. And it was nice to attend this program as well as yours, and it is very useful for us. And actually, my query is I'm going to join now only in a deemed university in research work. Whether I will be eligible for funding?
You are a PhD scholar now.
Yes, sir. I have passed my entrance exam, and a personal interview is there. And this month end, I'm going to join in a deemed university. one of the deemed universities. So, if I
As a
am
PhD
joining
scholar.
there, as a PhD
Okay, okay.
scholar,
Right. So you
if
are
I am
enrolled into a
joining there,
PhD program.
yes, sir. If I have
Okay.
enrolled in that, whether I will be getting fund from any government organizations
Yeah. You will not
using
be.
my research.
Yes, yes, certainly. You will not be entitled for full-fledged research grant, but there are a lot of
Okay, sir.
fellowship schemes available. There are fellowship schemes available, to which whose
Okay, sir.
motive of those schemes is to promote or facilitate you with the adequate funding during your full-time PhD. And in case your PhD
Okay,
is in the form of full-time mode, you are eligible for applying a lot of fellowships, and there are fellowships which are very much which are specific to women scientists. So you will take
Anna, yes, yes, you can go ahead with the topic. Yes, you are audible.
Thank you, everyone, and especially the Fundamental Engineering College for having me here, and especially to Dr. Prabha for all the coordination and then follow up. Thank you, Dr. Prabha, and then your team. My best wishes to everyone. Thank
Thank
you.
you so
Good
much,
evening.
sir. Thank you
Thank
so much, sir, for accepting and sharing your knowledge for this research funding proposal as well as the opportunities. We learned a lot. Thank you so much, sir.
you.
I request
Thank you.
participants, yes, sir, to fill the feedback link that is shared in the chat box.